Hey Morty, how's it going,
It
man?
is going well. How are you, Georgie?
Everything's good as well, man. Everything's good as well. It's still early, so getting ready for the day. I guess we can jump into it so the viewers can have a quick introduction. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself? Tell them what you do. Tell them what your name is.
Yeah, Mordecai Lunker. I run events. We put together NBX, the National Business Expo, here at the Meadowlands Expo Center in New Jersey. It was an amazing event.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, Morty, we're working together for the second event now. But what's really interesting to me is you guys host events not as like a consistent every year event type of thing. You guys host events almost like they're mini businesses in each other, right? So I know you and I talked about an event for one industry, an event for another industry. I don't want to say exactly what they are just for your privacy, but I'm just curious, how did you get into like this business of hosting events and hosting these like conferences as a business, like not like a yearly event, but you're hosting them with the intention of selling, these seats and these booths. How did you get into all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it started just from the simple thing that I want to meet people. As they say, your network is your net worth, right? So relationships are important. How do you meet people? You bring them. You just so I decided to do events, put people together. I won't go to the whole backstory of how I got into it, but the concept is pretty simple. I
Mm-hmm.
want to meet people. I want to get myself out there. I'm working on a couple different startups and side projects, and the relationships that I've developed through these events have been worth far more than the money I made on the events. Although that's nice too. So essentially, I'm getting paid
Mm-hmm.
to build relationships with incredible people that I hope I could do a lot more with in the future. And who knows what that would lead me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and what's kind of the motivation behind doing them in industries like construction or real estate, and not maybe doing them in something like tech or startups? Kind of what's the motivation behind going after those sorts of industries?
Yeah, I just think there has to be a demand for it. It's putting an event together is not an easy thing. So when there's a strong demand, when there's enough people that are interested in an event like that, there's enough people that are wanting to business each other, synergy. So for instance, the first one was more of a general business expo. That had its challenges because it was a little bit too vague. So people who came didn't know what to expect. Like who's going to be there? Who will I meet? Who can I do business with? Will it be the right clientele for me? My ideal avatars? Will they be in the room or not? By making it more specific, like okay, it's real estate people. Okay, so who will be there? Okay, plumbers, contractors, developers, roofers, electricians. You'll be a lot more targeted, a lot more intentional who will be in the room. So people who want to meet those people will want to be there too, right? So you can be a lot more intentional when it's more targeted. There definitely are tech meetups, there definitely are meetups for all different niches. When you niche down a little bit, it just tells the people who are going to be there, right? If you know that you want to meet X, Y, and Z, and he will be in that room, you're going to be in that room too because you want to meet this guy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's tough to meet people. So I think that's the value is that when you're able to be a little more
Yeah.
targeted and intentional, the people see that, oh, I got to be there because he's going to be there, and I think that's the biggest
Mm-hmm.
benefit of that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. I mean, again, I'm in the marketing space. Obviously, I'm a marketing agency, and I also do find it pretty difficult to meet other marketers. So I know exactly what you mean. There's an event happening in Las Vegas in about a month and a half that I'm flying out to.
Yeah.
Like, it is a struggle, especially in the East Coast. Like, there's not very many events where you can find people like yourself. So I understand why people would want to go to them.
Yes, yeah, and,
And
and
I
even
guess
and even, and even
circling
your
back
example is really
to.
cool. 'Cause the fact that you're flying out to Vegas for an event because you want to meet people that are in that space. If it was just a
Mhm,
generic event, you probably wouldn't go because you don't really care to meet a I don't know a random business owner who owns a little local shop, right? Because that doesn't benefit you. But these are marketers that do what you do. You see the value of being in that room with those people. So that's the reason. So whether it's real
mhm.
estate, construction, tech, marketing, by making it where it's a must attend for that type of person, whoever that is, that I think is what makes it successful.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, if you're looking to find that specific person, then I mean, going to another event with all those people would make a lot of sense. And I'm guessing because I know you host them in Meadowlands because I'm based in New Jersey myself, so I know where that is. How did you guys end up finding that location? Do you just have like a relationship with their company, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been to many events there. It's a good space. It's local. It's got a lot of space. And I reached out to them, said, how much does it cost? What are the options? And we built a relationship from there. Just went to the website, called them up, and started the conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, question for you, right? Obviously, we talked about a lot of these industries like real estate, plumbers, HVAC contractors, developers. A lot of these industries are like in-person businesses, right? So they're not like a marketing agency, a software company. They're not like a private equity firm. These are in-person businesses, and a lot of people believe that reaching these people through cold email is impossible,
Mhm.
right? That these people are just not on Apollo, supposedly. So, what do you feel? about that statement? Because I mean, we've worked pretty extensively targeting those industries. What do you think about that?
I mean, like anything, in many ways they might be better because less people are targeting them. So obviously, you can find anyone. People definitely respond with email. That's how most people communicate in business professional communication. So if you're a professional, yeah, most likely when you send your contracts, when you send over your deals, you're probably emailing them to people, right? Like that's how you communicate generally. So they're not opposed to communicating through email. I think it definitely works. And if they're getting a lot less, for instance, if you're an e-commerce person, you're probably getting a million cold emails because everyone's emailing e-commerce brands and Shopify brands and these. So like, I feel like those might be
Hmm.
more difficult because they're oversaturated. So although they may be easier per se because like you can find emails easier or whatever it is, you're dealing with a lot more competition. So if you have a more unique niche where there is less competition and less people are doing it because of all these preconceived notions, it might be in your favor because you might have less competition and you might have a much stronger chance of getting some results.
Exactly. And I mean, that's exactly what we say. There's no industry in the world where it's just not possible to contact these people. That's very foolish to think that there's just people who don't use email. Right? Everybody uses email. My grandmother uses email. Like everybody. The president of the United States uses email. So, it's a great channel if you want to contact any person who's a business owner. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, I mean, question for you, obviously, your only channel was an email. What else did you do to get, I guess, ticket sales, booths sold? What other channels were you using?
I mean, the most valuable is probably just word of mouth, right? I think that's the most like once people start knowing about it, once they start seeing about it, that's the main thing. You want to make sure they know about it. So we would put out some
Hmm.
ads. We definitely did some paid marketing, but a lot of my LinkedIn was a huge boost to it. I'm very active on LinkedIn, but just people knew about it. They told their friends. We built a little back end thing where if everyone gets on affiliate code, so they invite their friends. Hey, I'm going to this show next week. Are you coming? That probably brought us the most results just from people going, talking about it, telling people they're going. Again, that also benefits where if you're in the niche. If you're in real estate, everyone in real estate does it with each other, right? So the lawyers, the accountants, the real estate brokers, and the insurance agents, and the mortgage brokers, they all work together because they all do deals together. So they're when they're doing the deals, they say, "Hey, you're
Hmm.
going to that show next week that's doing this and this and this." Like it just comes up, and I feel like that gets us by far the most results. When you do a good search and when you have something that's appealing, that's valuable, people want to talk about it. So I think that's been a good thing for us is making the show where it's again people must be there. Like again, this
Hmm.
marketing show, but you just brought it up, right? Because you're going, you might tell a few others, hey, there's this marketing show coming up. Are you going to? By the way, I'll be there in Vegas next month. I'd love to meet up with you, right? So that type of thing generally does really
Yeah.
well. It's free advertising. People talk about it. People like to connect in person. So if someone's been talking over Zoom for a while or on social media, they say, "Hey, you booked that show next week? We'd love to see you." Those type of things do very
Hmm.
well.
Got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And funny enough, I actually ended up dragging three of my
There
friends
you
to go
go.
with
So
you. So,
that's the point.
you
It
know,
is.
those are
That's
yeah, that's three more ticket sales for that company. So that makes a lot of sense. So I guess out of the channels that you did for paid traffic and you were paying for those traffic, what channel was most effective for you?
Um, it's hard to know. It's hard to know exactly where everything came from. That's the truth. It's hard to track everything. I do know we got one of our biggest sponsors through cold email.
Hmm.
That was a direct through a cold email. We got a $10,000 sponsor through a cold email, which was definitely definitely certainly nice. But a lot of ticket sales came in. We did include a calls. We probably got at least 50 plus ticket sales just through cold email. A lot of people heard about the cold email, so it made a lot of noise too, which is impossible to track why that resulted in
Hmm.
income, but it definitely it helps set
Of
awareness.
course.
It helps get the word out, and it was definitely something that we want to do in all future events.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's actually something that we've talked about quite a lot internally as well, which is like even if the conversion doesn't happen on the email, that doesn't necessarily mean it won't cause a conversion in the future. Like I was telling my business partner just the other day that like about a couple months ago, I got this email from a software company who I mean, I'm not going to get into what they do because it's not relevant, but they sent me this email and I read it like a couple of months ago and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't need this, but that's a pretty good code email, right? And just recently, like several months later, I ended up remembering that, like, oh, like I have this issue which the software company can solve. And I ended up going and signing up with them several months after receiving their cold email, right? Just because I was made aware of their existence through a cold email, right? That's a big thing that we were talking about, which is like just because someone doesn't convert on day one doesn't necessarily mean they won't convert on day 90 or they won't tell somebody about it or they won't in the future end up working with you, right? So it makes a lot of sense. Now, for you, you said 50 ticket sales, a $10,000 sponsor. Could you kind of give a little bit of context on the difference between that? What are the revenue opportunities for someone who's hosting an event?
I think the most money comes from sponsorships, exhibitors. That's where we make most of our money from. Ticket sales, we charge
Hmm.
$95 for a ticket, so it's not, you're not talking about massive revenue there. But we did have thousands of attendees, so it's more about volume for the ticket sales. But the exhibitors and the sponsors where the real revenue would come from for an event like this. So an exhibitor booth is about 2,500,
Gotcha.
sponsorships are about 10,000, and that's where the majority of the revenue came into the event.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, that sounds very good. So, I mean, I guess anybody watching this video today that might potentially want to start a company where they host exhibitions, or maybe they want to host their first exhibition in their own industry, and maybe they're like in a niche industry, nobody's doing it yet. What would you say is like your main takeaway from hosting these events? Because you've hosted, quite a few already, so you would know a lot about it. What would you say to those people?
Make sure there's a demand, right? Don't try to create a demand. Don't try to force it. Like, ask people first, right? I think that's with anything, right? When you're doing this, make sure there's a demand. There's a demand for cold email. Do people want? Do people need it? So if you're going to host an event, whatever the niche
Hmm.
is, whatever the topic is, make sure ask the people that you're thinking about getting there. Hey, if we put an event together with this and this people, this and this goal, this and this objective, would that be interesting to you? And if a lot of people say yes, okay, maybe you got something. If people just don't seem interested and they're like, yeah, maybe, whatever, like I would just, I wouldn't do it. Don't try to force it. In the past, I've done that where, I'll try to, like, I think it's a good idea, but if people aren't interested, just don't force it. It's going to end up being a lot of work, not going to make money. So I would say just find out if there's a demand, and if there is, go for it. Speak to the people, get feedback, learn from your customers. Who are they? What do they want? And if you could deliver them value, that's, I think, the key.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, are you comfortable saying what's going to be the next event that you're going to be hosting?
We're doing a real estate expo at the Meadowlands April 2nd. I'm going to look forward to that one. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. Maybe I got a cold email about it.
Gotcha. Absolutely, man. We'll be having another discussion shortly. So, all right then, Morty. Well, we can start wrapping it up. Very This one's a quick interview. I think very insightful. We don't work with many or any really aside from you exhibition companies which host events. So it's always a good look into other people who are using cold email in unconventional ways because what you're doing is definitely unconventional in terms of cold email, right? It's not a conventional way of using cold email. Most people use it for like ecom marketing. So, interesting way, interesting channel. Or while we're on the topic, how did you find out about cold email?
I mean, I've always, I guess, known about it. And how did I find out? Or how did I, you saying, how did I meet you? Or how did I find out about cold email in general?
Let's do both.
So I think I've used cold email in the past. I have done email campaigns in the past. It's definitely my first time. I just had trouble getting the right deliverability, getting the right results. So I was researching a bit, how to do it the right way. So YouTube, X. I'm not sure which one I came across first, either X video or YouTube video. When you're talking about it, I'm like, okay, this is
Hmm.
interesting. So I reached out, connected. I joined your community,
Hmm.
and all right, let me just do what's working. I'm too busy to figure it out myself. You can figure it out yourself. I'm like, look, let me just go with someone that knows what they're doing. They have a system built. We ended up, doing a whole bunch of other things with Airtable, other systems. I'm like, let's use what works. I'm a big believer in don't reinvent the wheel. If something works, just use what already works. I have no interest in reinventing the wheel. It takes
Hmm.
time, money, energy to figure things out. You've already spent the time, the money, the energy to figure it out the hard way. I might as well just learn from that and use what you're doing and that you're seeing success with. And that's what we did. And it was pretty quick. There's a way less learning curve when you're taking something that's already working and existing, and that's what I did.
Gotcha. Okay, Morty. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for taking this interview with me. Just in case any member of the audience wants to get in contact with you, do you want to just quickly give a shout to where they can find you?
Yeah, Mordechai Lunger on LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach out to me. Rexexpo.com, REXexpo.com. If you guys are in the New Jersey area, I would love to see you at the event.
Okay. All right, Morty. Well, in that case, have a good day and let's talk
Always a
soon.
pleasure, Georgie. Take care.